To heal something, you simply have to feel it and observe it without judgment. You actually don't have to remember the story in order to heal something. And even though sometimes it's very helpful to know exactly what happened and how it happened, to heal something, your mind doesn't really have to be involved in it. The mind is an instrument that allows us to understand that emotional experience, but the actual healing happens in an emotional and energetic level. Healing happens through the body, and then the mind catches up. My name is Silvana. I am a sexual healing coach and the founder of the Venusian Academy, a space for the exploration of Tantra and the divine feminine arts. So today we're going to dive into an exploration on how to approach trauma that you don't remember, but you know you have because you feel it in your body, or certain triggers let you know that there is a trauma associated with it. All right, so let's start by addressing the mind. Why does the mind need to know exactly what happened, when, and how? Our mind is an instrument that allows us to navigate this world. Its job is to make sure that we understand our environment, we understand what's dangerous, and we create processes that make us more efficient in our living. So the mind operates whenever it comes to traumas that we feel. That need to know comes from a desire to control, and there's also fear of the unknown, right? So we experience fear of the unknown. The mind is like, okay, I am afraid of this unknown thing that I feel and don't see, so I need to know. There is the desire to control, and whenever we need to know, we need to form a story, because our mind, they say everything's happening right now, the present moment. The present moment, it's just the present moment. The continuation of stuff that happens through time and space. So we're able to create a story through time and space. So when we're healing happens in the present moment, in the now, in the movement of energy in the body. But then the mind needs to understand the continuation of effects, pulling us outside of the present moment into the story. So this need that the mind has to know is actually interfering with the healing process itself, which is why it's not necessary. And if you have some form of trauma in your body that you don't cognitively remember, but you feel it and you're aware that there are triggers around that trauma, then that's okay. You actually don't have to remember, but then we have to first understand why is it that you feel this need to know. This isn't your intuition telling you, you need to know. This is your mind, playing it safe, wanting to control the situation and wanting to run away from the fear of the unknown. So what are some of the very specific things that tell us that you might have a trauma stored in the body that maybe is not fully developed in your psyche? Maybe false memories. And false memories are a very interesting thing. I'm not going to go into the psychology of false memories. There's plenty of content about that. This is from the healing perspective of somebody that wants to take care of that themselves, self-healing energy, empower self-responsibility. From that perspective, right? False memories are those types of memories that are very foggy. Maybe they don't match up with the timelines that you knew you were in a place. Maybe things kind of shift. There's a lot of shifting in the stories, or there are variables that are constantly changing. Whenever you catch that might be some form of false memory, especially if it's something that happened a long time ago, because there is all of this instability in the memory. There's also different response or different details that get omitted or added depending on who's the person that's triggering that memory. So if this is the case, then that's a little red flag to pay attention to. Be like, okay, I'm gonna keep an eye on this. Intense triggers over certain things that you see. For example, let's say that you watch a movie where there is a very violent scene, or there's an incident of sexual trauma or rape or things like that. And you have, of course, these things when we watch them, they're triggering emotionally. But if you have an overly intense reaction to those things and you don't You're like, I didn't have that trauma, but I'm having a somatic reaction to this thing I'm witnessing. That might be another sign that there is some trauma that you might not remember, but your body does. Because even if the mind doesn't remember, the body does. Everything gets stored in our bodies. If there is a lot of physical nervousness, like for example, let's say that you're the type of person that always jumps up if somebody's behind you, or constantly jumpy. If constantly somebody, you live with people and you don't see them, and then it's like there's always like a like this over nervousness of the body. It's also an indication that there is some stored trauma in the body. There is an uneasiness in being present. Getting easily scared, checking out in sexuality, meaning that there is like a little bit of a disassociation from your body whenever you are in sharing sexual intimacy with somebody, or just plain discomfort in sexuality. Why? Because this is a deeply intimate moment, and it's a moment that requires presence in the body. And if there is sexual trauma in the body or other kinds of trauma in the body, whenever you are invited by life to drop into your animal nature and you're unable to be there, there's gonna be a checking out and a disassociation that happens during those moments. If there is a recurrence of certain sexual issues or problems that you notice in various relationships, or a specific problem with a specific partner, and again, this is like you understanding your process. This isn't your partner telling you what's wrong with you. You understanding your own process and doing this self dive into yourself. If you're noticing certain things, then that might also be a little red flag to pay attention to, that there might be some sexual trauma stored in your body. If there is toxic shame, just constant feelings of shame in being seen, in your body, in your sexuality, in your expression, in how you dress, in your physical existence. If you feel this constant sense of shame, that is also an indication that there is a trauma. Why? Because whenever we experience trauma, especially at an age before we understand what's a trauma, when we are still developing, there's a confusion that happens when we receive that first energetic impact. And in that, we haven't had developed our mental boundaries, identity. So because everything's still forming and a little blurry and soft, we tend to take on these feelings as like it was me. That's the nature of innocence. That's what naturally, that's the tendency that we humans have, to just absorb whatever we don't understand, and that creates shame. And there can also be a sense of guilt. The difference between shame and guilt is like shame is rejection for what I am, and then guilt is a rejection for what I did. So shame is a lot more self-destructive because it is my existence is shameful. I want to disappear in my existence, instead of expansion, there is just like a contraction with the need and desire to disappear onto the feeling itself, because to exist is painful in whatever expression, emotional expression is present in that moment. And if there is a lot of fear, or if you get attracted to things that cause fear. People that tend to have addictions to horror films or horror houses, and there's this thrill in it, that is a way of your body like moving through some fear that is stuck in the body that hasn't really been energetically processed. Okay, so what can we do if we realize, okay, yes, there's something in my body that my mind doesn't know what it is? Instead of diving into finding the story and what happened and doing all the digging, but you just want to release that energy from your body right now. And maybe in the future you do that and indulge your mind and you'll find out. But in the present, if you just want to be free from the trauma in the body, first thing you need to do is to allow yourself to step away from the story. What really happened is not really that important for the healing process. Maybe for the mental reparation afterwards, yes. But for the energetic, emotional healing process, it's not that important. And I know this is controversial. I am not a psychologist. I speak solely from my personal healing journey and experience, and from the process that I have worked through with my clients and students at the Venusian Academy. This is like firsthand experience speaking, not a psychology degree, okay? But what I've noticed is that we don't need to step into the story, because what we need to step into is into the raw emotion. Sometimes the story pulls us into the emotion, but if you don't remember it, a trauma, why even try to go dig for the trauma? It's almost like half of the work is already done for you. As terrible as it sounds, it's almost like, okay, your mind protected you. All right, fine. Thank you, mind. I'm going to remove the trauma from my body. So we need to tap into the emotion that's there. Like I said, it's usually fear, shame, guilt, disgust, all of these feelings. When you're able to tap into either emotion of fear, shame, guilt, anger, or disgust, bingo, you found it. Because then you go through a process of emotional alchemy. Emotional alchemy, in a Cliff Notes form of it, emotional alchemy is the process of feeling and experiencing the emotions that are present with pure awareness, without judgment, without avoidance, and without trying to suffocate the emotion itself. It's surrender, it's a peaceful surrender into the emotion that wants to be felt in that present moment, and my ability to become aware and remain still in my awareness of the emotion. I'm not talking about physical stillness of I am terrified and I just stay still. Your body's going to move. Your body needs to move the energy. I'm talking about a stillness of your connection to like your truest self, the observer in you, like that pure awareness. Like if you're able to remain there without engaging in the judgment and in the fight and in the trying to constrict, but you just allow your body to feel the emotion and move the emotion from the body, this is what I call emotional alchemy. Through emotional alchemy, you're able to give life to these emotions, and because you're observing them with your pure awareness, that brings that you're bringing light into them. And whenever we bring light into something, it's no longer in this darkness in the back closet. It's seen by us, and everything that is seen by like the God within, the source within, your own consciousness. So the energy is released, and then you are free from that energy. This isn't a, do it once and you're done thing. This is basically like however many layers of emotion is trapped into these specific traumas. That's how many times you do it. And usually, there are times where you feel all the emotions at once. And there are times where certain events in your life are going to trigger specific emotions. If you take everything as like, okay, I'm not even gonna go into the story, but I'm just simply going to allow myself to like feel and let the feeling move throughout my body and express itself however it wants to express itself, you're alchemizing that energy because you're liberating it from your body. And by liberating it from your body, you're becoming free of it. And that allows you to become more and more present, bring more parts of yourself into the present moment. Stagnation means that we're carrying old energy from past events that was not processed. So emotional alchemy allows us to release this energy and become free of traumas that we might not even remember. And if they're related to sexuality, these traumas are like one of the first key elements that you have sexual trauma, even if you don't remember, is this deep sense of shame because of the story of sexuality and all of the energy that goes around, our sexual energy. So once you've gone through this process, a very important piece here is to bring yourself back to safety. Bringing ourselves back to safety is bringing ourselves back into the present moment, into, okay, in this present moment, I am safe. In this present moment, I'm here, my house, sitting down, I have walls around me, everything's fine, nothing's on fire, I'm right here. This process of bringing myself back to the present after the body releases an energy from the past is going to help you seal that circle and create liberation of that energy, but not keeping you stuck in the loop of recycling through the same energy, but instead like coming back here. Think of it as like sealing the process of healing. So If you want to begin healing from sexual shame or sexual trauma, please make sure to check out my description box below. I have a free workshop there. And then I also have a course on healing from sexual trauma, which also focuses on these emotional alchemical process that happens when we go through this process. So you can find Sexually Emancipated. I think it's still currently open. So you can check that out in the description box below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like it, leave me a comment, interact with the algorithm to help more women find this information. And I will see you guys next time.